what was your thought process when you see these new platforms come out? So like TikTok now is thinking of 3-minute video. Are you like in the back of your mind going, do I need to figure out like how I do 3-minute videos on TikTok? Like,
Well, the hard thing is you got to kind of figure out like where's your best ROI with some of the things, just like with any decision in general. So it's kind of like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the State of Streaming show. We are live across Facebook and Twitch with y'all, and in this series we sit down, look at some of the events that are going on in the industry, as well as keep you guys updated on everything that's going on. So it's a lot of it's an exciting opportunity for us to kind of chat about it, as well as to bring you guys in as well and keep you all informed on some of the stuff that's been going around, because it is slammed every other week when we do these. It's incredible. And also, we absolutely love if you guys chime in as well. If you are tuning in live with us, we got the chats up across the platforms here. We have some awesome intros that Mark, our content king, put together for us. So get a little bit inside of some of the topics, and then really, really love to hear your guys' insight as well, to get a feel of how the community in general is feeling on some of these topics and what's been going on. Obviously, some very, very big moves in general. Quick little intro as well. My name is Stone Mountain 64, full-time streamer, co-founder of Pipeline, also joined today by Snoopay, my fellow co-founder.
What's up? Yeah, it's so good to be back. We're heading at the holidays, so I don't know if we're gonna make getting another one for the holidays. So we're gonna cover a lot of news, a lot of exciting things been happening the last few weeks. It just doesn't seem to be slowing down for live streaming.
No, and I don't think it ever does, man. I really don't think it ever does. It's like, it seems like it's this small little world, but at the same time, it just keeps on getting crazier and crazier, as we're going to see with some of the different topics that we have today, even that we're going to be discussing, and we'll get into in a little bit here. Kind of a brief overview of everything that we got going on. YouTube gaming has seen some insane success. We're going to actually go down into some numbers. Don't fall asleep going through some of the numbers, because they're insane ones, and there's going to be some cool insights we can pull from some of that as well. Facebook launching a $10 million Black Creator Program, which is incredible. We'll get into a whole bunch of stuff on that. CyberPunk having some DMCA issues. This is something that, I promise you, we were talking about it before we started the episode today. And we're like, man, we don't want to keep talking about some of the DMCA stuff, but it's really good to at least stay in on the loop of what's going on with some of this stuff, so you understand where it's at, because it can affect your stream in terms of using audio and those things. So we're going to get into some of that. A Japanese Bob Ross has also appeared, and just some really cool overall stories and everything that we can get into. Is there anything else you want to add before we roll some of this, Steven?
No, but I can see the chat. We've got a couple of Pipeline members in the chat that are seeing that I've got a new hoodie on. More to come on that. Sorry I can't share any details at this point in time, but I can guarantee it is pretty cozy. So we'll share more in the future on that side. But yeah, the Japanese Bob Ross, I can't wait to get to that one.
Awesome. So without further ado, let's run up the first story here.
YouTube Gaming releases their 2020 metrics, and the numbers are good. So good, the 100 billion hours of videos watched would bring you to Neptune and back 475,000 times. Some of the top games streamed were Minecraft with 200 billion views, Roblox with 75 billion views, 72 billion Garena Free Fire views, 70 billion GTA 5 views, and 67 billion Fortnite views. Also, 80,000 creators hit 100,000 subs, 1,000 creators hit 5 million subs, and 350 creators hit 10 million subs. Other than Stone Mountain 64, who's your favorite YouTube gaming creator?
Isn't that insane? 80,000 creators.
It is wild, because when
1,000 subs.
Many people say that it's too late to become a YouTube creator, or it's too late to become a live streamer. And I think like these numbers just kind of fly in the face of that wholeheartedly. You've got double the number of watch hours from 2018. In 2018, it was 50 billion watch hours. Now in 2020, it is 100 billion. It's doubled. And in terms of consumption, the amount of people out there watching is doubled in the last few years. And the fact that there's that many people that are able to hit that 100K benchmark, even now in 2020, I think is huge for anyone right now who is, sitting at, oh, should I start? Or I'm at like 1,000 subscribers right now. I think this is evidence that absolutely keep going, absolutely keep pushing through.
It's fun because it was like that was one of the things that, I felt even when I started so many years ago, but it's also something that I've heard every single year, um, since I've done it as well. It's like, "Oh, it's too late now, it's too late now." And I think this is gonna keep getting crazier. What's crazier too is like at 100K subs is when YouTube sends out these silver play buttons as well, and so they've sent 80,000 of those out now, and that's pretty insane. But as well as just even at the super high end of 300, like 10 million subs was just like never even going to happen. And then to have 350 of people at that stage now is pretty insane. And I think it's a big testament to this as well. And then going kind of back to Mark's question of favorite creator as well, I think one of the ones that really stands out to me, especially lately, is Jacksepticeye. If you guys haven't seen his streams or his content at all, he's such a massive, incredible creator, especially on YouTube gaming in general. But he also just did a charity stream. It was like a 9-hour stream where he raised $1.4 million as well. And it was just like it's really cool to see not only incredible numbers on views front, on content front, but also on that front as well. And I kind of wanted to point some of that out too, but really cool. And
For me, I was just gonna add, like, so my favorite, because is not Stuntman 64. So in terms of, for me,
what?
I would say, well, it's not allowed to be. Mark said it's not allowed
Oh,
to
right,
be.
right. Okay,
So
I'll allow it then. All right,
uh,
good.
I don't watch that on YouTube. I don't watch as much gaming content, but there's a channel called Impact Theory that I absolutely love. It's They bring in some of the most influential minds from around the world and different subject matter experts, and they just talk for like 45 minutes to an hour. And I absolutely love that. So if you've not ever checked it out before, Impact Theory on YouTube is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, what does this say to you looking at Minecraft with 200 billion views on it?
I mean, how long's Minecraft been around for now? Like 50, is it 15 years? Is it that long? Something like
Nah,
that. No,
maybe
10 years.
10
10
years,
years at least.
maybe.
It's gotta be a decade.
Yeah, I'd say
Which
probably about 10.
I think it is a testament to the game, right? You see
Oh,
games
yeah.
like Minecraft that have been around for that long. It really is just such a great game that resonates with especially a younger audience. And there's a whole generation that grew up with that game. So I think when you're thinking about making content, you're like, oh, I gotta get this new fresh game that's coming out, and I gotta like prepare all my content around this new game. I think what's interesting is there's still a lot that's not being done in Minecraft.
Yeah.
That if you can tap into that creativity, there's a lot more to do. I saw a comment from Jaja Binks in Twitch chat, which was, is it the pandemic that's caused the numbers to spike in the last year? And I would say it's definitely accelerated the amount of people watching content online. So that's definitely a fuel to fire. But I wouldn't say this is just because of the pandemic. Like, I don't foresee, a vaccine coming out and, things going back to normal and then viewership dipping substantially. I actually just think it's accelerated the adoption of people
Yeah.
watching content online. I think it's going to continue to go up over time. So if you're thinking like, should I start making content? I think there's no better time, and these numbers just show that there's no better time than now to start making content.
So these guys are saying as well, it was about 2009 when Minecraft came out. Um, but yeah, no, I think you're right in a lot of ways. There was definitely a boom with it, but I think it was even like, okay, we're talking about Minecraft. That was a major boom even in the first place for online content creation. It just introduced people to that in the front over a whole bunch of years, as well as obviously when Fortnite had its incredible boom. Obviously it's a little lower on the list here, 67 billion views for Fortnite in general, but that's competing with Roblox, 75 billion, 72 billion, Garena, 70 billion GTA. Like, it's still very close to some of those. It's just, to me, it really stands out that Minecraft is such leaps and bounds ahead of everything still at this point. And, that is a testament to it being such an open world game, to being something that everybody can kind of get in on, and so many different endless ways to play it, as well as mods and things for it. I think that's something similar with GTA. That's also what we see as well with GTA, even on streams, for example, especially on Facebook. That's one of the biggest categories, and the ways that you can mod it. Obviously, GTA RP has seen a little bit more traction as well lately, but like the races, the courses, even just the mods that you can do, that is some of what can to me stands out with both of those games really continuing to accelerate even for such a long period of time. And it's going to be really interesting to see what other games start getting added to this list into that 60, 70 billion views category, because those are some incredible numbers, as well as, again, the individual creators playing those games, hitting all of these record numbers as well.
Yeah, and as these numbers go up, you're going to see the platforms continue to invest even more. Like we've seen, Facebook in the last few years has got really into live streaming, and that's opening up a whole new audience that wasn't watching content before. So I think as a creator, the biggest thing that you should take from this slide is that it is a great time to be a content creator, and it is a great time to continue to invest in creating your content and really put your foot on the gas, because the numbers are going up and up and up.
Yeah, which is great to see. It's really great to see. And with that, Facebook is launching a really cool new program. Let's hear a little bit about it.
Facebook Gaming announces their $10 million Black Gaming Creator Program as a part of their larger $200 million commitment to support Black-owned businesses and organizations. Approved applicants will gain Facebook Partner Badges, early access to new streaming features and tools, and will be working closely with the Facebook product staff on improving Facebook gaming. This will include product feedback sessions, private Facebook group with the engineers, access to gaming concierge support, and invites to all digital and in-person gaming events like bi-monthly summits focused on mentorship and training with established Black gaming creators. Most importantly, creators will receive guaranteed monthly pay, which can either be paid out in dollars or Zuckbucks. While Facebook is helping boost diversity, YouTube and Twitch are doing their part in rolling out new tools to help with online toxicity. YouTube's anti-toxic comment feature prompts potentially offensive commenters with reminders to keep their comments respectful and revisit community guidelines with a nudge to the edit button. Twitch is going further by broadening their ban guidelines to be more strict on lewd comments like harassment of sex, immigration, or the Confederate flag. This comes after a year-long review with academics to be enforced come January. All in all, the future of content creators is looking more diverse, inclusive, and a little cleaner, one platform initiative at a time. Is Facebook's new $10 million program the most effective initiative that a platform's rolled out to improve diversity?
I'm not sure, but I think one of the cool things is that they're taking a huge, not even taking a stab at it, they're taking a huge stab at it with bringing, I don't know how many creators are going to bring on in general with it, but it's super cool to see. And in terms of even their larger initiative that they're doing, it's really cool to see gaming being a significant portion of that in the first place. To me, again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, but it's like, this is that much more validity of gaming into space, as well as on a platform that's so big and does so much in terms of, global online content, whatever. To see kind of gaming taking an even bigger stand with it too. That was what I saw. King Richard, who I've had the pleasure to play with a couple times, he was the one who made the announcement video for it. It was super cool to see, and I was just like, I thought it was really cool, and I would love to hear others.
It is. As I worked at Facebook, for those of you who don't know, I worked there for a couple of years, and seeing them come out with a program like this is absolutely phenomenal to see, because as Stone said, they've got so many initiatives going on around the world for billions of people. Like they've got so many different products and areas of the business that Facebook focuses on, and for them to put their money where their mouth is, which is what they're doing with this program, is great to see. And I know that Leo Levy, he's the global partnerships director at Facebook. I'm sure he was a big proponent of putting this together, and it's just really exciting to see that top-down leadership and just deciding that this is something we're going to get behind. And I think, to Mark's point, this is, from the gaming platforms at least, one of the biggest moves I've seen from them getting behind the community and really putting their money where their mouth is. I think that it remains to be seen like how effective it is over the next few years and how many creators they can actually support in a meaningful way. But it's so good to see. And also, one of the things that this should kind of give hope for creators period on Facebook is they're really committed to solving the toxicity problem, making sure that there is diversity. And I just think this is an overarching narrative that they actually genuinely care about getting this right. And it's a 2-year commitment. So when we're thinking about concerns around, is the platform going to be there tomorrow? Like we had the whole Mixer thing. I think this is further proof that Facebook's in this for the long term. So if you're a creator on Facebook, this should give you some confidence in, wow, they're making these long-term bets. They're making these big long-term bets and doing it publicly.
Yeah, and I'd say too, really look into it, put your best foot forward if you can, and see what you can make happen with it. Even if not now, maybe it's something for next year. Like because it is a longer commitment as well. Some people were asking as well, what the heck are Zuck bucks? That was his joke on stars, which is something that, by the way, I had initially. As well as other people were like, because when Facebook was initially trying to come up with their stars, or what do they call it versus like bits, because it wasn't around initially when I was even streaming on the platform, as well as some others. But it was like, oh, what they were asking, what should we call it? And well, I was one of them. We're like, maybe we should call them Zuck bucks
Yeah.
for it. Which
I think we got the script review process with this Mark guy. I mean, he just gets to just free reign on the scripts, unfortunately. But yeah, Zuckbucks would not have been a name that went down well. I could imagine us when we were coming up with the name, if we just went to the exec team and we were like, hey, we're gonna call it Zuckbucks. Is that okay? But no, that wouldn't have flown, unfortunately. I think this points to a bigger thing about role models and the impact that role models can have on platforms. I mean, you, Stone, you've been a role model for a lot of Facebook gaming creators. You were one of the first to go to the platform back in the beginning, and you showed what is possible on the platform. And I think if a fund like this or a program like this allows more role models to be created in a way in which might not be possible before. And I think that is really good, because when we think about the impact this could have in terms of the future of the platform and inspiring more Black content creators to give it a shot and see that it's possible, I think that is a really important thing for the future of the platform. So seeing King Richard be at the helm of this, he's a great guy. I'm stoked to see him there. I know he's got a lot of respect in the community, so it's good to see that. And I'm hoping that it's going to really pay off this program.
I'm curious too of what you guys, even in chat, think about this. YouTube changing. Obviously there was stuff on Twitch as well here, but YouTube's anti-toxic comment feature. They have this to a certain extent where some things are already held for review. So I don't know if they're kind of turning up the dial on it, or what it's going to be, but it's going to, as well, it's going to prompt people when they're putting something that might be potentially offensive to be like, are you sure you want to comment this? Or, maybe revisit our respectful and our community guidelines, and kind of like nudge them to edit their post as well. Like, is that something? To me, I'm like, I feel like that's not going to make any change. I feel like YouTube has a reputation of their comments being extremely toxic in a lot of ways, or not really being the best. And I feel like just kind of nudging people to be like, hey, check out our guidelines and read through all this stuff of how you might be offensive to somebody.
I can see really chat saying, like, it really depends what they declare as toxic. I mean, YouTube has a pretty bad past of like, is this video a bad video? Is this video a good video? They're not really like trusting the algorithm entirely to do that is a little scary. I think the idea of causing someone to pause, like go, hey, hold on a sec, is that what you meant to say? And then they have to think about it. I like that idea, because some people, to be honest, don't think about what they're saying and are just like, throwing stuff out in chat. So I like that idea. It just depends how much of a pain it's going to become if they're constantly flagging it.
Yeah, and how do they decide it, right? Like, is it algorithm? Are they strong with it? Are they over strong with it? But I think it's still allowing people to do whatever they want with it, which I think is going to be probably the more important thing in general with it. And what's interesting too is, like, I think they're trying to actually be a little bit more like TikTok in some ways, because from what I've seen, a lot of TikTok comments they can get pretty bad, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have as bad of a reputation, from my experience at least, as what I've seen on that. And I've even heard of them changing what some things say, or the algorithm affecting some of the comments on TikTok in general. But I mean, we'll see how that continues to play out. Speaking of TikTok, though, they've got some changes coming, and we've got a video. Let's roll it.
TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook are all rolling out new tools for their platforms. TikTok is in the process of testing longer 3-minute videos, which expand the platform's offerings, but it could hurt its primary strength: highly creative stories condensed into 1 minute. That said, If creators can adapt to the new changes successfully, it could prove as successful as Twitter expanding from 140 characters to 280. TikTok users began to petition against the new move, but after 60 seconds, they lost interest and dropped the petition. Twitter launches Fleet, a Snapchat Instagram story competitor that will allow users to post stories that will disappear after 24 hours. Twitter also launches Spaces, which are virtual rooms for people to engage in real-time audio conversations, with hopes to encourage more thoughtful debates and exchanges, starting its early access with women or people with marginalized backgrounds who happen to face the most amount of harassment. Stadia touts the ability to live stream instantly to YouTube with the click of a button, which is great timing for its new CyberPunk 2077 offering. And finally, Facebook launches Hanging Out as a new streaming category with a focus on conversation, which is like IRL or just chatting on Twitch. Will TikTok's 3-minute video dilute its current 1-minute success framework, or open it up to something more?
So my thoughts here are that there's the things that are motivating this. Like, I think we got to step back. There's a lot of platform innovation that's happening across all of these platforms. But for TikTok specifically, I think it's important to understand the motivation for moving from 1-minute video to 3-minute video. And I think if I could put my TikTok hat on, it's because of monetization. Right now, they have a bunch of creators that are making a ton of content, but monetization is lacking. There's not great ways to monetize on TikTok itself. So by going to 3-minute video, that allows you to insert ads in the video. It's going to deepen engagement, obviously, because there's going to be longer watch time, but it's going to create the opportunity to put in ads, which, for a platform at their scale, ads do really well. We've seen this on YouTube. The problem is with a 1-minute video, no one wants to watch an ad in the middle of a 1-minute video. 3-minute video becomes more acceptable.
Yeah, some of the comments are like, "Oh, good, I'm going to spend even more time on TikTok now." But the thing is, like, if you can't control where you're playing through and scrubbing through some of that, that's where it's like, if it's a minute, a lot of people are really willing to sit there for another 20 seconds to see kind of where it goes. But if you also have, let's say, a 30-second ad in the middle of that, it just 100% that I don't think that works. I think it's really right now their system is much more as you're scrolling through, it kind of throws it into their feed, but then it's also how do you reward creators for that? Right now they've been using this creator, this creator fund, and some people have been making some decent money from that in general, but is that going to be the best solution? I don't know. And, even to Mark's point there, Twitter expanding from 140 characters to 280 characters, to me, that's a completely different ballpark because you're looking still at something that you can control how much time you spend on. And you can just kind of skip to the end if you want to. You can, that's like, even though it's just text or whatever it is, or even if it is a video, you can still control where you're at through that, where you can't really do that on TikTok. And I don't know if they're going to actually have that same feature with, the 3 minutes or not. But something else that I saw that was kind of interesting on TikTok was their like beta testing, even being able to stream games to TikTok. I found a creator who was doing Rocket League, and he was saying that it has to be vertical and he had to have a certain number of followers to even get it in the first place. But typically, if you ever stream to it, it's only from your phone. There was no way to do it. I don't know if he came up with a different way and was saying something else, but he was saying he's basically in a test for it. So that could even be something that we're seeing, as well as, Twitter getting into these stories. There is a lot of movement in terms of the tech and what's happening in that space. And I don't know if people are going to be super receptive to it, but there was another comment I saw is like, are all of these platforms just trying to all be more, are they all turning into the same platform basically, right? Like if you look at Twitter and now it's got stories as well, which Snapchat has, which Instagram has, which Facebook has, like it's no longer just a unique feature of one thing, but it's spread out across everything.
I mean, it's true that it's these companies, when something works and a behavior develops, like stories is a great example of that. Snapchat stories was just killing it, and it was a new behavior. People like that media format. Like people just like consuming that ephemeral content. And then Instagram was like, well, we're going to buy, or Facebook's like, we're going to buy Snapchat. And then Snapchat said no. So we're like, okay, we're just going to copy you, and we're just going to build one that's much bigger than you. And then so became Instagram stories and Facebook stories. I mean, I think platforms do copy each other a lot. I think this is really common. where when they see something working, they're like, okay, we'll just do that and we'll incorporate it. There isn't a lot of innovation, unfortunately. I think TikTok, though, you give them credit. It was an innovative format of creating that kind of video. I think you mentioned the fund. So the creator fund is a big fund for, but that's a bootstrapping problem. That's like we have a bunch of creators on the platform. We want to help them continue to create content and motivate them to create better content.
Mhm.
But that's not a long-term solution. They have to start working on monetization at scale for them to compete with a platform like YouTube. And that's the thing that I believe they're starting to test is like, can we stretch out the video format? Can we find ways to put ads in? Are we doing the feed thing that Facebook did? Like, I think they're just looking to experiment here, and they have to. You know, at the end of the day, they are a business, and it's important that they do try experiments like this for the long-term health of the platform. Or they go, you know, the direction of like a Periscope or something like that, where it's just going to get killed, or a mixer where it's going to get killed. So I think that it's important that they crack monetization for them to have a bright future. I think other things that are really exciting to me on this platform innovation is, you know, Stadia is doing the one-click live stream, and we've got Facebook is now rolling out the hanging out aspect, which is essentially just chatting on Twitch.
Right.
I think leaning into this more is really exciting as a new creator, because there's just more opportunities, more ways to create content, more niches to go into. I think that point about creating live on TikTok, if I was a brand new creator and I was just starting out and I had the freedom to just experiment with something like that, I think that'd be a great opportunity. Like, imagine you could crack TikTok live first and you went viral off of that.
Yeah, I mean that would be extremely interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if they even decide to continue down that route, which, you know, they're kind of doing in some ways with personal, but then do they actually try and get into the gaming space in general? But yeah, in terms of Stadia too, I've actually heard a lot of people telling me that, especially with all the issues, for example, with CyberPunk, right? That being some of the catastrophe that it has been on some of the previous gen, it's actually been a better experience on Stadia. So if you can also even create content through that too, and that becomes a better format too, that becomes a whole nother window where people can not only create, but create content for other people that might also get into Stadia. Although it still seems like early tech in general. And then, yeah, I completely agree too. I don't know if it's hanging out is going to have the same effect as what it has on Twitch, though. I'm not really 100% sure. It's something that I tested out a little bit, but
The thing
don't
is,
know.
it's already it's they're coining it hanging out, but it's already happening. A bunch of people go live on Facebook normally already, and Instagram Live.
Yeah, but
Happening
like
already. It's just that the idea of calling it hanging out is just
I
trying to
see that
copy
for
just chatting.
Instagram, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how many people are really doing like non-gaming, just hanging out streams like prior to all of this, and maybe they didn't have a category. I'd be interested
I'll
to
tell
see
you this:
though.
Facebook and Instagram Live are bigger than Twitch, if you count in the globe. If you count in all the
You know what's interesting?
non-gaming stuff that's going on, David, there's 2 billion people on
Yeah,
those platforms.
yeah. You know, it's true. But you know what's interesting? I've always like they had it for a little bit on Instagram. Was like you could actually search for people that are live, and now they don't have. Like I can't just see who's live. There's no like explore for it, at least, or maybe I'm just now
No,
too
you're
old
right. It could be
to
a
find
lot better. I agree.
it.
Speaking of Cyberpunk, because you just mentioned it, I think it's a great segue into our next topic, which, no surprise, DMCA's. Mark, roll the clip.
CyberPunk's disable copyright music setting fails and tells users to mute all in-game music. This adds to the list of technical issues 2077's faced since its release and marks another milestone in the larger story of DMCA issues for live streaming. This sets the timeline for all Cyberpunk-related issues to be resolved by 2077. To add fuel to the fire, Senator Tom Tillis pushes for prison time and fines up to $30,000 in an upcoming omnibus government funding bill. Tillis received $100,000 from several entertainment industry PACs, which may have swayed his actions. How long will this DMCA debacle take to resolve, and what will the end game look like?
Yeah, this is the craziest thing. I mean, that's not even a joke, unfortunately. The last bit, although Mark does like to throw those in. But yeah, I guess to the first point of, you know, Cyberpunk in general, this was something that I think is hopefully a learning milestone for other games in that it's a huge thing to be able to have a game that has an option where you can toggle it to be, this is all copyright free music. I can stream this, I can create content on this game and not have to worry about it, especially if you look at something like GTA where there's no option like that for car radio or whatever, and you just got to just turn the whole radio off and deal with all your own stuff for it. It's really cool that they were offering a DMCA version that's free. Again, that being where your stream or your content gets taken down off the internet because you're using somebody else's music. And it was funny too. I saw somebody even put it recently of like, hey, this is not my music. I don't own any of the rights to this music, hoping that that would, exempt him from creating content using the music. And it's just like, it's such a unknown topic in some ways. But anyways, really cool to see this direction, but like, unfortunately, it wasn't executed well. There were still copyright issues happening even with this selected. Yeah. I think that's bigger issue just on CyberPunk in general. I think this game has just been so hyped up and so much was going into this that it just had so many moving parts. They had to get it out. Eventually, they finally got it out. They can't hit everything, and then this slipped through the crack. And I don't think it's as much on. I think it's more on the game than it is the idea of this.
Yeah, I mean, did you play the game? Actually, I didn't ask you. Have you played the game?
Yeah, I did. I played it for a few hours. Played through the first kind of intro bit for a bit.
Didn't catch you? Didn't hook you in? Or okay?
No, I mean, it's great. It's going to be an extremely deep game, and I can tell you on PC, you don't run into a lot of the issues that I mean, it's laughable seeing it on some of the screenshots and stuff of that I've seen on the previous gen consoles, which the craziest thing is that that's what this game was initially going to come out on, was only on the previous gen consoles. And it's just been delayed to where now it's like, okay, now we're going to put it on the new consoles, but you can still play it on the old consoles. And now it's just
this is like a thing where we got to get this game out. You've got a bunch of very smart people and very talented people that are like, let's do all this cool stuff. It's going to be great. Like, we're going to have, ability to toggle music off. We're going to have, playback on old devices. And everyone's like, oh, that sounds great. I can't wait to do that. And then they just didn't have the time to QA and execute properly. And what a blunder. Like, DMCAs were such a hot topic of 2020 that getting this out, I loved it. I was like, I want to see more games do this in the future. But the fact that it didn't work, that is just a big face palm. And I mean, I think, CyberPunk has just had a nightmare of a few months now. Like, I think their stocks, like CD Projekt Red stock has plummeted a bunch, like 40% or something. So they're in a bit of a rough spot.
It's just unfortunate because, we see creators like, I believe it was Anumission. I can't even talk today. But she was posting out on Twitter that she had to take her first 2 entire VODs down off of Twitch completely because of that issue, even though she had it on. And I think it was still affecting her, but she put it all up on her YouTube channel. She has a second YouTube channel where she was just putting the full gameplays up. And it's like, okay, that's your solution to this, is like, you're not even on your main platform anymore. Which is actually still good for her because I'm sure it brings some people over to her YouTube, and like there's other benefits to that too. But it was just like, it's just unfortunate. And so, they put a post out saying, just turn it off, just turn all the in-game audio off, or the music off. If you hear music, just mute it. Again, because Twitch is being, if you've been haven't been tuning in some of our previous podcasts, Twitch has just been so aggressive on, well, not them in general, but the industry as a whole is coming down on Twitch, which is forcing them to take steps to remove all of these streams because they don't have another system in place. So they're just having to delete everything. I
saw Bird was saying in chat, there's a lot of pressure from the community on devs to get it right. And I totally agree. There was it's an unrealistic amount of pressure on the CyberPunk dev team, but they also played into it themselves. Like, they, hyped it up and had talked about it and created, insane marketing around it. So it's like, sometimes it can be better. And this is maybe a lesson for those listening, like, in terms of content creation, is under promise, over deliver. It's just generally a better philosophy. Obviously you want to market stuff, you want to hype things up, but it can generally be better to under promise and over deliver. And that way you can, if you keep doing that consistently, people are gonna be like, oh my God, these are incredible. But 7 years to hype it up and then to fall flat on their face. I just feel sorry, honestly, for the devs. It just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, the number of comments that I read on it is it's pretty crazy. I mean, the caveat I would say is that it overall has been doing good for PC gaming, which is awesome, but to see some of that really does suck. And you're looking at it as well. This in particular, in terms of the DMCA issues, probably isn't the biggest issue for the majority of players that are playing it, right? The bigger issues are the bugs, the AI, how it's performing, and some of those more gameplay mechanics. But this was, in my opinion, hopefully going to be an easy win in general. That you, it still wasn't working for the sake of streaming and gaming content in particular, and that's where it's um, would have been cool to see. But there's also some other cool news as well, and some cool stories out there. One of these being the Japanese Bob Ross, which was just a cool story that we really wanted to share. So let's roll this.
73-year-old Japanese grandfather and former teacher Shibasaki amasses 700,000 subscribers on YouTube and 300,000 followers on TikTok with his how-to series entitled Watercolor by Shibasaki. Shibasaki started creating video content on his 70th birthday with his son's help and now does 90% of the video production himself. Shibasaki says, "Technology has made my life worth living. I realize that there are more people who say their hearts were healed or energized by watching my video than those who just want to paint. I hope to bring peace of mind during the pandemic." If this continues to go well, Shibasaki hopes to pursue his second lifelong dream, joining a Christian death metal band. How old is too old to start being a content creator?
I told you he has some jokes. I told you.
He is so much fun just getting to play with this stuff. The question was, is it too old to start being a content creator? And absolutely not. I think this is just proof of it again. And there's, it's not just with this example. There's Tetko Grandma, who's a member Pipeline. She's crushing it on Facebook, and she's a grandma. And it was her grandkids and her husband that helped her learn how to stream. And she's doing great. And I think it just goes to show that if you're thinking, I've got too much going on, or you can't start, you can always start. You can always start. It's going to take time, but you can always start. It's never too late.
It's kind of fun. Shibasaki's son helped him get going with it, but now he does 90% of the video production himself. It'd be really cool to see some of what his workflow is like, and like what his setup and some of the stuff that he does behind the scenes as well, to run some of that as well. But it is pretty cool, and it's cool to see some of the innovations on it. And I think too, even just looking at again, we were talking about TikTok earlier too. Obviously, he's even acquired 300,000 follows on there too. It's kind of been interesting to see some pages blow up. I know there's an older, I believe, Japanese grandmother as well, who does these like crazy meme, like super over edits, like with a green screen, and like cooking videos that I've seen. That's just like she's amassed a huge audience as well, and it's super fun to see some of the creativity coming out from different generations as well.
I saw from Flirtin in chat, it's like, never too old, do what you love. It's all about knowing your why. And it's just an incredibly important thing. Is we've got a lot of content creators listening, is what lights you up? What do you have fun doing? Like, don't try and copy everyone else. Like, you got to feel like you're having a bunch of fun through it. And I think as an example of, it's just so wholesome. He's a talented artist, and he's found his niche. And I think it's so cool that his kids were so supportive too, or his son was so supportive and helped him out. And I think there's a good question in this, is when you see a platform like TikTok. I mean, you thought about this, Stone, in the very beginning, was, should I be on TikTok? And I think you waited a little bit before even trying it. What was your thought process when you see these new platforms come out? So like TikTok now is thinking of 3-minute video. Are you like in the back of your mind going, do I need to figure out like how I do 3-minute videos on TikTok? Like,
yeah, I mean, well, the hard thing is you got to kind of figure out like where's your best ROI with some of the things, just like with any decision in general. So it's kind of like, where do I focus it? And I think a big thing that makes it harder for me to branch into some of that, personally at least, is that the things on my other pages are going so extremely well. Whereas, one of the reasons that it was easier for me to try to switch back over to YouTube streaming, to try and stream over on Facebook, is because I was having declining numbers at the time on Twitch. And I was like, okay, well, where can I find some other opportunities? And that gives me more time to work on some other things at that. Whereas right now and currently, it's kind of hard to do. Although I am throwing some of that out, it's still really good to do that too. In terms of like why to do some of that, one of the reasons is just it's such a massive platform, and it really is. There's some stigma around it that I think exists, but the same thing's true on Twitter, the same thing's true on Facebook, the same thing's true on Twitch, right? Even as well as even what we were talking about with YouTube comments earlier, right? Like everything's got its own variations to it, but it's how do you utilize it and how do you use it and how do you do it differently as well? If people are using it one way, how do you do it differently? That's one of the things in general that I try to do with Facebook, right? Is like it's people have ideas of what that is, and I'm trying to create an entirely new path. And when people see that, they're like, "Whoa, okay, I see this guy's doing something actually different here. What is this?"
I
Um,
love Gigglestink in the chat. She's like, I just got done learning 1 minute videos on TikTok, and now they're coming out with a new format. And you're totally right. And you gotta, the reality is, and you can't do everything, and you gotta be okay with that. You
yeah,
gotta be mindful of what you can do and what the highest return is going to be for you.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny too. I think it was her, as well as a couple of these guys. And Pump was like, "Oh, I feel old at 20, man. It is so much more time to continue to work, to continue to master stuff." It is crazy to see some of these like young guys that come up and are just absolutely cracked out of their mind on some of these games uh, that are like 14, 15 or whatever they are. But there's tons of people that are I'm 28 myself. There's creators that are much, that are older than me, that are younger than me. There's a whole spectrum, and that's where you're gonna hit different audiences. That's where you can play to your strengths in different ways to create different types of content. That's what's so exciting about this space.
I think
Um,
it's a good kind of
general.
segue onto our kind of final topic. We don't have a video for this one, but I do want to touch on it because I think it's really important that we talk about Mako. So for those of you who don't know, a guy called Mako, he's part of the Mob, which is a content group, and they're part of 100 Thieves. And he announced, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, that he is no longer going to be a content creator. And this shocked, his community. It shocked 100 Thieves. It shocked the Mob, like the content group that he was a part of, because they were doing so well. They were crushing it. And one of the realizations he had was content creation is not for me. It's just not me. It's not what I want to do. And he had this realization. And I think even for someone like that, it was going so well. He was, he had all the things going for him in terms of content creation, but he was like, this is just not for me. And I think that it's not because it's not like it's too hard. I don't want to do this. It's just for some people, it's just not for them. And I think that is something that you can it takes a lot of work. Like to become a content creator, it's a lot of work, and you need to be willing to put in that work. And if you're not passionate and you're not excited by it, you're probably not going to put in the work required to be successful.
What's interesting is like it's I think these types of stories, especially with a content creator at his level, then it's like this is probably stands out even more. But even other creators at this level, even whatever, a couple 100,000 subscribers, whatever it might be, I have seen many, many, many stop over the years, or even if they don't stop, they even just find another form of content that they like better. Both with even people who start with YouTube and then decide they like streaming better, or start with streaming and decide they like uh, YouTube better, or even have just gone into straight pure podcast. Even look at like somebody like H3H3, one of the biggest creators who made all these really funny videos and then completely pivoted to still does some of those, but much more in terms of his podcast that he does, as well as created an entire clothing line alongside of that. It's not uncommon. There's even some of one of the earliest creators that I was thinking back to this semi recently on a different train of thought, but there was a creator who was doing these trick shot tutorials. I had befriended him. He was a really awesome dude that had like 300, 400,000 subscribers like back in the day as well, which was like, I couldn't even believe it. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to go to college. I'm going to focus on that. I'm going to part ways with this. And then maybe I'll come back to it in the future. Maybe I don't. There's another guy that I had met who also, I think his channel even had over 1 million subscribers. I can't remember exactly, but this guy was full on content creation, and he decided to step back because he didn't like the being in front of a camera aspect, and decided to take on the operation side for another absolutely massive channel and helped them continue to scale because he liked that better in terms of what he was doing. And that's what's kind of interesting about the industry expanding too, as well as I've seen, streamers get into even community management for different game companies and for different hardware or software companies. Like there's a lot of different avenues that are kind of exploring, and that's what is kind of exciting. And again, different people are going to have different things. Mako, maybe he's completely out of all of it completely forever. I don't know, but it is something to consider, and that's where it is. It can be good to kind of take a step back, see where you're at, and then to our point earlier of people even being 70 and getting into content creation. Who knows where you're going to be another 5 or 10 years from now, where maybe it's something that you could re-explore or get into. It's such a fun, creative aspect that it's not like even basketball or maybe another sport where you got to be in a prime and young and whatever to even get into it. But it's like, you could start this another 10 years from now or whatever it might be. Or
one of the things I think that you touched on was this idea of getting into streaming or getting into content creation, and then you cover so many different facets. Like you're designing, you're editing, you're marketing, you're doing PR, you're doing, community management, you're managing it to all these things you're doing. You're an entrepreneur. You've got so many different things that you're learning as a content creator. And I've seen this happen time and again. Again, I've been in this industry now for almost 10 years, and I've seen where someone started off wanting to be a content creator and then found their love for design, found their love for editing, found their love for marketing. And that is then the streaming or the content creation was like their foot in the door. And then they were able to go into marketing in the games industry. And that was something they were more passionate about. So none of this, like even if content creation doesn't pan out for you, don't see it as wasted time. You're getting an opportunity to learn a bunch of skills. And as an entrepreneur, that's one of the fastest ways to grow. And if you can treat that as like, this is really exciting, I get to learn all these things, it'll really change your mindset and perspective around how hard it is, because it is hard. It's hard, but you can get a lot out of it.
Definitely. Brian says it's investment in yourself. Takes time, just like stock market. Giggle says you gotta, go where your heart motivation comes from. Life's about enjoying what you do. It's true, and you gotta make sure you're in a good spot in general to be able to create and to figure out other things as well, at least to a certain extent. So that's an awesome thing. And in general, I think we're going to end it there, guys. Thank you so much for joining in today, listening in. Again, if you want to find everything that we're doing, you could find it over at pipeline.gg, as well as find all of our podcasts there over on YouTube. You can find us at youtube.com, pipeline.gg as well there. Thank you all so much for joining in, commenting, tuning in live. This has been an absolute blast as well. And anything else you want to add here?
No, the big thing is that's the first I've seen you on camera without the glasses. Looking good.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
I dig it.
It's an adjustment for me. It's an adjustment, but
I can bet it is.
Like, I'm
for everyone else,
and I don't need my glasses, so I'm trying to figure it out a bit. But it's been pretty good.
Well, I think you look great. I'm excited. I'm excited to see the non-glass stone evolve over the next decade. Anyway, and all the memes that are gonna come. Everyone, it was great, and have an amazing holiday. I know some of you may or may not get the chance to go back home with family. We're probably not going to do one in 2 weeks just because it's going to hit the holidays. But we'll see you again soon. We'll make sure we'll share an announcement on that site. So thanks everyone. Enjoy time with the fam.
Later, guys.